day, another beautiful day. What's good? What's good? What up? What up? Alrighty. Hold on, let me get the I figured today we could start off with some good old reacts. Know y'all like some reacts around here. Damn. I'm gonna do some Red Ring of Death reacts today. I don't know if you guys remember I was talking about the Red Ring of Death. But I was like, you know what? I wonder if they have some YouTube videos about that. So here I am. It seems they do have some. Gonna watch a few. Maybe one or two. Depends on what their quality is. But yeah, I guess we can go ahead and hop on in here. This was brought about because my PlayStation was green screening on me. And I was like, you know what? This reminds me of the Red Ring of Death. So yeah, one thing led to another, and then I was like, you know what? Let's watch it. Let's watch. So we're watching. Anyway, I'm gonna hop on in here. Let's see. Let's do this one right here, straight from Xbox.
CNBC's Jane Wells live in Los Angeles with how the 360s problems are heating up, literally.
This all came together in this horrific perfect storm.
Some faulty Xbox 360s are literally melting down while running certain games.
It was a slow rolling thing, like really understanding how big the problem was.
It started to really be concerning, and the numbers started to grow.
I had a sick feeling in my stomach. Microsoft hasn't specified the cause, but users say the console's cooling system just can't take the heat of a lot of play.
We were just having failure after failure.
The problem was huge.
Mine just crashed this holiday season. Get one back, turn it on, didn't even work.
No! Again! People spent a lot of money on a console, and we're getting 2 and 3 of them back.
Whether they were friends, whether they were family, whether they were people on the street, it didn't matter. It was all over the place.
I was mad as
Then it became
Oh, not this
media
mother.
saying this is a piece of hardware that has been rushed to market, and as a result, we're seeing unprecedented failure rates. It's broken.
Everything that I've worked for the last couple of years is trashed.
There's a new contender in the video game wars.
Xbox is going to be the future.
Truly the future of video games.
Xbox.
Taking over the living room.
Limitless, connected digital entertainment.
You guys never understood.
The company is going to face fierce competition.
Sniper!
It's a ticking time bomb.
Makes me very nervous to actually play this for you.
Xbox getting a major overhaul.
A bold vision for the future of gaming.
Okay, Xbox. Okay.
Without a doubt, the most Herculean feat of the original Xbox was that it survived.
Looking at the history of the video game business, you would have given them 1,000,000 to 1 chance. So the achievement is that we made it to Xbox 360. And internally, it's fun to laugh at lots of the missteps.
You'll see Xbox will actually start up.
Like, we can laugh at the Xbox didn't turn on at the original unveil.
We can bring that video up.
But with Xbox 360, honestly, even with the benefit of time, nobody laughs at the red rings.
Hell
to
no.
understand the red rings of death, you've got to go back to the beginning and all of the work we did with the Xbox 360 to build it from the bottom up. We were absolutely focused on getting out ahead of the PS3. We needed to be seen as the start of the next generation.
The 360 was 5 to 10 times more powerful than the original Xbox. And so to achieve that level of performance, we had to push technology and solutions that didn't exist in the previous generation.
This was an incredibly hard, complicated program. The circuit board itself is a completely custom design. And we were building these chips, which was a new process at the time.
We did our own internal design instead of buying off-the-shelf silicon.
We're bringing up new hardware with software that isn't quite done yet on new test systems that we're developing in real time.
And that had a domino effect on the whole product.
The design was coming together kind of late. We were launching in November of 2005, and we did not see our first silicon from the CPU until February of 2005. It's just ridiculous.
That's 9 months before launch. That is an absurdly short time frame. The normal time frame would probably be like 2 years.
And so we're faced with finishing the design and wrapping our production lines at the same time.
We wanted to launch it worldwide so everybody had it at the same time. But that's a big challenge because you also need to have enough units to restock in retail so that the countries you do launch in aren't out of inventory.
We need to get our yields up, and so we're cranking up production.
At the highest manufacturing output, I remember hearing numbers like a console would come off the line every 4 seconds.
Damn.
But as we're ramping production, we start to see reports of these issues that were coming up. Lots of inconsistencies. Consoles would fail at test stations. If you build 100 of these things, only 50 or 60 of them would work, which is really, really bad. Like a real robust yield rate would have been 90, 95. This was the fog of war that we had to see through, and that was, is there something wrong with the design of the product, or are we testing it incorrectly?
Because we were trying to ship in high volume, there wasn't much time to think about it because there was so much to be done. One way of dealing with the failed consoles was to put them into these nice boxes and stack them so that you would get back to them at some future point in time. In a way, we were kicking the can down the road a little bit.
We are developing what we call a bone pile. At the height, we created a bone pile that was over 600,000 units deep. And so it's just like the Lucille Ball episode where the chocolates are coming off the conveyor belt, and they're coming off so fast that they can't do anything with them. That's exactly what was going on. The thing about building consoles is Christmas doesn't change. So your schedule is paramount, and there's just so much pressure to get it done by November.
After a hectic lead up to production and months of intense troubleshooting, engineers finally managed to solve the technical issues that had plagued the 360.
Sure.
As consoles started to pass QC, the team was finally able to chip away at the bone pile in an effort to meet the demand, which, at the time of launch, was ravenous.
So here is ready for Xbox 360.
Outside the Best Buy in Midtown, it's raining here in New York, but these gamers don't care. They've been out here in the rain since early this morning, and they're not leaving until they get an Xbox 360.
When the Xbox 360 launched, there was a palpable excitement for this console.
The Xbox 360 finally got out of your dreams and into your car.
Microsoft had their fingers firmly on the pulse of what gamers were expecting, and they clearly had a vision of what gaming would be for the future.
We got in with something that was unique and revolutionary, a gorgeous design of the concave elements of the 360.
It really felt, in some ways, that Xbox had actually just arrived.
This new world of online, this new world of social engagement, this new world of building communities. We at Microsoft had absolutely nailed that experience.
The demand was really, really high. We were selling every single unit we could ship into the market.
I know there are a lot of fans out there that want a 360. There's a shortage out there. You know, is that a marketing strategy, or can you not produce enough? What's the real story on that?
We are making as many as we can, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We're flying them in.
Ultimately, we got through our challenges of production, and we just need to be able to catch up.
By hitting the market a full year before PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 had a head start on the competition. But Sony was still the undisputed industry giant, and they had every intention of keeping it that way.
It was the year after
E3.
we shipped, when PS3 was coming out.
We were paranoid.
Sony had such credibility that they had cultivated from the PlayStation 1 to the PlayStation 2. So they were riding on this tidal wave of success and goodwill from gamers.
Coming off the PlayStation 2, Sony had done everything right, the most successful platform in game industry history, and really just needed to stay to the playbook. In contrast to that, you just witnessed Microsoft coming to market at the right price a year before you're able to come to market. So you know you're facing formidable competition.
PlayStation 3 is the best of breed
Yo, I
computer
remember this.
entertainment platform.
PlayStation 3 was positioned as a premium product from the get-go. This was going to play games, but it would also play Blu-ray discs. So it was seen more as kind of an entertainment machine.
We knew they were going to be somewhat arrogant.
The next generation doesn't start until we say it does.
And they would price their console to where they felt they needed to have it because they felt that they were untouchable.
This is sort of pre-live streaming era, and a bunch of us were huddled around one person's laptop, like a 15-inch laptop screen, streaming Sony's press conference.
And then they dropped the price.
In North America, the PlayStation 3 will be available at retail for $599 US, $659
they fucked
Canadian.
up.
Wait a minute, did $599?
$599.
Crazy, boy. Hell no.
Consoles didn't launch at those kind of price points.
It was like, holy cow, we just got handed this generation.
We were high-fiving each other, people were crying.
There were just all these ways that Sony had put their own foot in their mouth.
Sony said it would be a privilege for people to work extra hours to afford their overly priced console.
You have an over-engineered machine that's going to be incredibly expensive to manufacture.
And that opened a window for Microsoft to be able to sort of say, hey, like, we have a great system that's going to play all the games you want to play. We've got better online for cheaper.
Thank you very much, and have a great show.
Becoming CEO right after the launch of PlayStation 3 was like being made captain of the Titanic right after it hit the iceberg.
After Sony's announcement, we could not wait to get on stage the next day.
Couldn't be more excited to be here because we're delivering the next generation of gaming right here and right now, with titles that are nothing short of spectacular.
We had a lot of PlayStation fans and even Nintendo fans who were coming to Xbox because we had the best games, we had the best system, we had the best online network. We led in every aspect.
With the help of our incredible partners, we're delivering on that vision with Xbox 360, with a high-definition gaming experience more powerful than anything else in the industry.
Yeah, we were riding high, we were celebrating. I'd say the morale is extremely high. And we had so much pride in this product. Everything was great. And then the storm hit.
Uh-oh.
Before
Here it
launch,
comes.
engineers had worked around the clock to fix 360's early technical issues. But by June 2006, there were reports of an entirely new, never-before-seen problem. Distress calls flooded into Redmond. Something had gone terribly wrong.
It was in the forums, and I started to notice that something wasn't right. There was a lot of chatter about console failures.
Dude, what? Your Xbox. You might want to take a look at it.
Over time, we kept hearing more and more about it. We'd go to a launch event for a game, or we'd go to meet with games journalists. Then they would all start talking to us about it. Like, before we can talk about new features, we want to know, is this fixed? But we had no sense of how big of an issue it was. We didn't even know how to deal with it. And then we saw more reports of it.
Microsoft have been in the news with their latest computer system, but it seems the last big product they launched can have some problems.
That's the first time I seen this. There it is. Mother.
The Xbox 360 had a really cool feature where there were 4 green lights around the Xbox emblem.
Each of those lights corresponded to a specific controller, and so that's how you knew what player you were in the game.
We also used the ring to tell people when there were issues.
It's like the check engine light on your car.
And this is what we called a core digital error. And this was an indicator of the system detected a major issue.
The error state was just that there was no communication. So the machine was just basically telling you, I can't do anything.
This would show up as 3 segments in the ring being lit red, which would come to be known as the red ring of death.
Red ring of death.
It's the red ring of death. Red ring of death.
I got red ringed. Everybody got red ringed.
Exactly. Everybody, bro. Everybody got red ringed.
Red thing come up, and then the whole game freeze, and be like, man, what the f is going on? We can't play. What's going on? Yo, doing that too? It was. Oh my God, it was terrible.
No! Red ring of death again.
Again.
Xbox, I'm calling support.
You wait on hold for a while. They let you know they really appreciate your call.
Yo, what's good,
A
Gino?
little bit longer, and then they go,
okay, we're gonna get you a replacement unit. It doesn't show up for a week.
A
All the
week.
enthusiasm's gone, and then here's the new console, and it was just like, wow.
This is the 4th Xbox.
The 4th one, bro.
Effectively, the failure rate was near 100%. It just became an epidemic.
It was a red ring of death. Consoles hotter than a dragon's breath. It was a red ring of death.
Freaking way!
And I'm so pissed off. Grab the phone, dial tone, call it Microsoft. Now they'll see the dark side of me. I'm on hold. It was a red ring of death.
The glitches that went down with Xbox 360, I was mad as I'm like, get this fixed or I'm leaving. I'm joining the enemy. And as simple as that.
I feel kind of sorry for it. Not really. They deserved it.
No, you did not just come in here and say, what is the red ring of death? Gino, how old are you, bro? How old are you? Around for the Xbox 360 days? Say you're pretty old? Maybe like 19? Oh, you not old. You a baby. You a baby. Red ring of death. Well, they about to tell you what it is. I ain't got to tell you. They about to tell you.
It's a big deal because it's just sort of the passion that gamers have for their hobby. Like, you don't want to be away from your console any longer than you need to be.
We felt the customer's pain. I had 3 boxes replaced, personally at my house. And it does make you think, okay, I work here. And this experience is not a pleasant experience, and sending your Xbox back.
Microsoft's going to ship you a cardboard coffin, and that's what gamers were calling them online. Did your cardboard coffin arrive?
I finally got my coffin.
Got that box. Yep.
But hopefully I'll get him back.
And you'd put your 360 in it, and ship it on back to Microsoft.
I remember
Yep.
going out to curb and like meeting the UPS guy.
Yep,
and looking in the
UPS.
back of the UPS truck and seeing wall to wall, Xbox returns.
Remember what I told y'all about my
The fact that it
experience?
was happening to more and more people, and Microsoft was shipping a lot of hardware. That just combined to this feeling that, hey, like, are you guys really taking this seriously?
They're continuing to sell defective hardware. So a consumer could walk into the store today, buy a 360, take it home, and it's a ticking time bomb.
Is there any speculation out there what the problem is?
There's a lot of speculation, but because, well, among other things, there are 500 million transistors and 1,700 parts in each of these boxes, so the speculation could go anywhere.
Whenever we had new game launches or new system updates, I would be out meeting with the top games journalists, showing them all the new stuff. And I'm trying to sell them on the future, and they're like, dude, my console's not working, like it's broken.
For those who have experienced the flashing red lights, what causes this exactly?
That's kind of part of the problem, Kevin. Microsoft has been very vague about the specific causes. They won't cite any specifics. They won't
They
say
don't
exactly
know.
why.
They don't know.
Didn't have all the answers at that time.
See,
We're
they don't
trying
know.
to figure this out. Do we have a heat problem? Is the solder in key components in the motherboard, is it cracking up and drying out and we're losing that connection? We just couldn't figure it out.
It's a long process. You had to test it at the board level, you had to test it at the system level, and then you had to test it in the rack level. And we had, almost 1 million of them sitting in our bone pile.
We'd fix the ones in the bone pile, we'd send it back out to the customer, and it turns out that wasn't the problem, and it would break again.
And I'm saying, man, this is not going to end.
After the third or the fourth issue that we ran into, I remember thinking, hey, maybe we're in over our heads.
When we got to the point where we said, we're not figuring this out fast enough, we made the call to shut down production.
We went lying down at the factory. We wanted to figure out how to.
Have I experienced this? Yes, absolutely. If you had an Xbox 360, you experienced this. There is almost a guaranteed chance that you experienced this. Dang, the Xbox 360 flop. That's the thing. They won the generation. That's the funny part about it. They won the generation. But because they won the generation, that's why this became such a huge issue. Because they had so many Xboxes out there, and all of them were basically failing. It's crazy. Your brother must have experienced this. Yeah, ask him. Ask him about it. I bet you he knows.
Solve it before we build any more units to go to customers.
It stretched every bit of our imaginations to try to figure out exactly what was going on and how to fix the problem.
This went on for months.
These were the darkest days of my career.
Are people going to now go out and buy PlayStation or Nintendo? Are they going to leave us as a brand?
Every day you weren't gaming was a bad day for you. You trusted us, and you'd invested this money in us, and we let you down.
Not gonna work.
Not gonna work.
This was an incredibly trying time. People use phrases like you figure out what people are made of. Having gone through it, I can actually say that happens. It's a thing. It isn't just a phrase.
Todd had to manage the very complex process of what we call root causing until we knew what was going on.
2006, 2007, I dedicated a lot of my life to this Xbox in order to fix this problem.
Fix it, Todd.
Breakthrough came when we understood that the connections that were being broken were not located on the motherboard, but they're actually located inside the components. The problem was a connection was breaking. The reason it was breaking was thermal, but it wasn't because of the peak temperature. It was because when the unit would get hot and then cold, hot and then cold, every time it did that, it would stress the connection.
All these people love playing video games, and so they would turn this thing on and off, and when it would turn on and off, you get all sorts of stresses.
And just like when you bend something too many times till it finally breaks, that's what was happening.
Once we figured it out, how in the heck are we going to fix this?
Peter Moore and the executive team faced a big decision about trying to fix this with all these boxes that were out there in the wild.
This was something that could tarnish the brand. They needed to do not just something, they needed to do the right thing.
If we're going to save this brand, we need first-class consumer service reaction to this.
The credibility of the whole platform really, I think, hung in the balance.
There's only one way to do this, and that is you have to fix every console for every customer at no cost, no questions asked.
I think we're off to a good start.
I remember sitting on a whiteboard writing out some simple math on repair rates times $1 times a customer times an amount equals a number. And that number became pretty big. And I remember feeling in my stomach this is gonna be a bigger issue than I thought.
By the time we looked at the cost of repairs, the lost sales that we factored in, we had a $1.15 billion problem.
Peter had to go to Steve Ballmer and basically say, hey, bad news, I need $1 billion to go fix this issue.
I'm expecting to be ripped to shreds.
It is a make or break situation for Xbox. If Steve Ballmer does not give Peter Moore the money to go fix it, Xbox is dead. Like, there's probably no question about it.
To the credit of Steve, and I can still see him looking at me right now, he said, do it. Just do it. We'll figure it all out. We'll take the hit.
Microsoft will spend at least $1 billion to repair serious hardware failures with its Xbox 360 video game console.
Over 200 million of this was simply one-way overnight shipping around the world.
Yep.
Kudos to Microsoft for stepping up and putting their money where the red ring of death was.
It was one of the times when I've been proudest to be part of Microsoft because we made a mistake, we owned it, and we did the right thing for consumers.
Without that money spent, without them taking the problem head on, there's probably no Xbox right now.
We bet on our fans and our brand and took the hit. Take that hit once, do it right, don't ever regret it.
When the 360 died on me, I was pissed that it died, but I wasn't pissed at Microsoft. I just really wanted to get the 360 again and start playing again because it was just awesome.
Was frustrating, but they had hooked us. So when you hook somebody, you know they're not gonna leave. They're gonna work with you through the difficult times.
That was a good sign that people love the thing that you're building.
But even $1 billion mea culpa may not have been enough had it not been for two X factors: a library of celebrated game titles, and support from game developers who loved how easy it was to program for Xbox 360 and saw in it the potential to take gaming to places previously unexplored.
And PlayStation coming out at $5.99 didn't help. Or should I say it did help.
Gears of War at the time was the best looking game ever made, and it became this poster child for HD graphics and HD fidelity.
Like, $1 billion.
That people are going to immediately gravitate to and go, oh my god, I can't believe the 360 looks that good, especially when they compare it to PS3. Because this game looks better than anything on PS3 right now.
It was the fastest selling Xbox 360 game. It sold like 1 million units in the first couple of weeks, and that really propelled the 360 in a big way.
Gears of War may just be the great hope to turn the 360 into a must-buy console.
It was a very different type of game for Microsoft. An M-rated game with over-the-top violence.
Everyone loved the signature weapon, the chain gun, the Lancer.
Gears of War was about appealing to a hardcore gamer.
The people that play Gears, they have so much passion, and people get tattoos, and it's just the deep connection they have with the franchise and the game. It's unlike any other franchise that we have.
That is satisfying. And all of a sudden you see this tide turn of every publisher is then developing for the Xbox 360.
We have secured a lot of big games for Xbox 360. We published titles like Mass Effect,
We had Splinter Cell from Ubisoft, of course. We really had this incredible portfolio of games. We were the shooter box.
Call of Duty was a franchise we had bet on early. It was a PC franchise, and we really established Call of Duty on the console in a big way.
Cameo and this gorgeous, colorful game. It was about frame rate, it was about smooth visuals.
Forza was built as a direct competitor to Gran Turismo. We're going to go off and we're going to build a great, epic, big racing simulator game.
You had cars that had amazing reflections of the sky. They had reflections of other things. You had particle effects. You had a lot of things that just made it look much more real than any other game.
To this day, my son can recognize cars by the engine sounds because he played so much Forza.
If you look at Xbox 360, that was a moment where we got it exactly right. It was just an incredible run that I don't know that has ever been topped in the history of gaming. And then, you know, at the center of it all was Halo 3.
It had
Bring
been
that
3
one up.
years since Halo 2 smashed industry records, and Halo fans were clamoring for the next chapter of the epic space saga.
Man, played so
we were
much
really
Halo 3,
surprised
bro.
by the success, the huge success of Halo 2. And so as we were leading up to the Halo 3 campaign, I think we did kind of look at it all up from our marketing team as more of a Hollywood moment.
With Halo 3, we wanted to get out in front and make people aware that video games are not something that are just for the boys. Video games have come of age.
An exciting day for video game fans and for Microsoft.
Master Chief is back in the most anticipated video game ever, Halo 3.
Thousands lined up to get the final installment of the trilogy when it went on sale at midnight.
I got here 6 p.m. yesterday. Been waiting here ever since.
Halo 3, what a massive launch event that was for us.
They have 1 million pre-orders, which is pretty much unprecedented.
Halo is projected to sell 4 million copies its first 60 days.
More than twice as many as the 9 runners-up combined.
It's only the biggest game ever.
We were no longer some like tech company trying to be in video games. We were launching one of the biggest entertainment properties of all time.
Halo 3 embodies our vision for the future of entertainment.
The franchise spawning everything from clothing to action figures and rumors of a Halo movie.
Halo 3 really started to make gaming the mainstream cultural phenomenon.
Its first day sales could outdo not only the final Harry Potter book, but the debut of Spider-Man 3.
When everything was tallied, we had generated over $170 million in revenue in the first 24 hours, setting a new record for the biggest day in entertainment history.
Halo,
It
boy.
was just an amazing moment. It was one thing after another. We had games, we had Time Magazine. Everything started clicking, and it felt like something's happening.
We delivered the right content, the right hardware, the right games, at the right price, and we were showing massive momentum. The ship had sailed and sailed magnificently and kept sailing full steam ahead.
Only a week ago, Peter Moore took the stage in Santa Monica, California for Microsoft's E3 press event. A mere 7 days later, the man in charge of the
W
360 and the
Microsoft.
Games for Windows division has decided to move on to EA Sports.
I left Xbox because I felt like I had done what I needed to do.
Ironically, he'll be replaced by Don Matrick, the former president of EA, but one has to wonder, with the face of the Xbox gone, how will this affect the 360 standing in the console wars?
Don Matrick was a really accomplished game developer. As a kid, he wrote these amazing games, and he was just like super smart.
Don's really an innovator. He's a business leader. He's really into the tech. He really wanted the Xbox to be a product that could reach a broader and broader market.
When I joined Microsoft, Steve Ballmer said Xbox needs to have more than a true product lifecycle. And to do that, we need to place bets, we need to move into new categories, we need to innovate and create new hit products, both in gaming and in entertainment.
When Don Matrick came on board, it was more about trying to appeal to a completely different audience and a very broad audience. So there was this one meeting where he shows up and he says, we're not going for 30 million consoles, we're going for 300 million consoles. And the strategy behind that was we need to make casual experiences.
When the
Connect.
Xbox 360 launched, we had Xbox Live built in. We had this very basic blade for Marketplace, and we had only game content. One of the things that I've been tasked to do was go get us some entertainment content, which was an entirely new idea of the time.
We started doing deals with studios. We were excited when we had 1 movie and then 2 movies and 5 movies and 10 movies.
Microsoft's Xbox will transform into a next-generation entertainment hub. Users will be able to navigate through music, movies, television shows.
For the first time, we were realizing that streaming and digital video content was going to be a big deal. And then we had Netflix come on.
Xbox 360 was a big part of putting Netflix in the living room.
At the time, Netflix was a mail-order DVD catalog service.
Nationally, Netflix moves more than 1.5 million DVDs a day.
There's 40 of these warehouses around the country.
Right.
So that nearly every customer gets next day delivery.
Netflix hadn't done anything with digital streaming. We thought, why don't we call them up, see if they would be interested in distributing their content through Xbox 360.
We definitely accelerated their growth because we introduced them to tens of millions of devices that were connected to a TV overnight.
It's a great opportunity for Xbox members to never leave the sofa. You know, watch movies from Netflix, play great games. It's a great platform.
And it's like, what should we do next? Well, we brought HBO, we brought Twitter, we brought Facebook. Today, that may not seem that revolutionary, but at the time, the idea to be able to do that all in one box had just never been done before.
Our Xbox Live community, the digital streaming services, the gamer tags, the achievements, the experiences, they were things that we would hear consumers say they loved and competitors say they were envious of.
Xbox Live really proved that people wanted digital content. I think that created this sort of ripple effect that affected Nintendo. They knew that they probably needed to shift on how they did some things. They weren't just going to give you another console, they were going to give you a console that did something different.
This is Mike. By day, he's Mike the businessman. But when he picks up the new Wii remote from Nintendo, he's Mike the warrior.
Does this still exist on Xbox?
Holiday of 2006, Nintendo released
What's
the
that?
Wii and turned the world upside down.
We're confident because for
Wii, baby.
pick up and play games, there's nothing like it. For baseball, for tennis, games like that, it's fantastic. But with the nunchuck, what you're able to do
Do all that stuff still exist on Xbox?
is a huge step forward in
Definitely does.
Nintendo came out of left field with a device that wasn't based on technology. It was based on a simple entertainment experience of being able to play a game without being a button masher on a controller.
It really resonated with a mass audience, a wider audience. All of a sudden, parents are playing video games with their kids again.
Suddenly, you heard people talking about video gaming as something that was good for you.
Wii Fit is about bringing fun into fitness.
Video gaming as an approachable thing that everybody could do.
They went after senior citizens. They went after female gamers. They went after people who are not traditionally gamers.
They got all of them.
Clearly, they expanded the audience. And
Yeah,
they took
Netflix and
gaming to
YouTube and stuff,
mainstream
yeah.
entertainment.
I remember Bill putting a lot of pressure on the Xbox leadership team. How did we miss motion gaming? What can we do to catch up?
We need to compete. We need
Connect.
to advance our game strategy. We don't want to do a Wiimote ripoff. We want to do our own thing.
Don also had this vision for controller-free gaming.
What would it be like if instead of waving something, we were recording movement? We were recording state of people physically through a camera.
The controller, he thought, was this impediment to more people playing games because you had to kind of learn this device. And his view was like, hey, if people could just like swat at things or move things or drive a car like this. It's kind of crazy, but it's like if you could drive a car like this, that would make more people more willing to play video games.
We set out to really make the console approachable to a whole new generation of people, to a whole new set of people that wouldn't otherwise think about gaming as something that it was for them.
Yeah, but y'all were too late. Nintendo already
We
did
had
it.
already been doing some technology exploration where we could map people using depth sensing and RGB cameras and microphones and stuff, and you could have that by your television rather than holding something, you could still get these similar type of experiences.
The idea that we were going to use IR kind of display, projection and reflection to measure movement was pretty magical.
Every step of the Connect process was an inventing step.
A lot of this work, we had to figure out how to hack our way into it.
We prototyped probably 30 activities. We found that the whole body activities were actually the most fun. And so that's what we ended up focusing on, to create something totally new for gamers.
We launched Connect, and it was a game changer.
I don't think anybody saw it coming. It was something completely new and unexpected.
So you can see if we wave our hands, it's,
Oh my
it's
gosh.
tracking your full body.
That's
and now
crazy.
we're playing.
Okay.
So if you lean left and right, jump, jump, jump.
In your opinion, John, how does this compare to the Wii and the Wii Fit?
Oh, completely blows it away. And this extends far past just gaming.
It's crazy. It's Minority Report status. That's how I see it.
When I saw the Kinect, I thought, oh, finally. Like, this is something we're going to use for VR eventually. It's going to be amazing to have you in the game.
Because it's motion gaming, people think, oh, it's like the competitors. It is a completely different thing, and you have to play it to understand that.
And the games were really fun. It really unlocked a new game experience for people.
Fireball!
Start getting people all cheering and yelling and, you know, encouraging the person who's actually playing to try new things.
The idea that, like, you would have people over for dinner and then afterwards everybody would want to turn on the Xbox and go play ping pong or go play Connect Sports or go play a Dance Central. That just gave Xbox 360 a whole nother sense of purpose.
In the first 60 days, we sold over 8 million Connect sensors worldwide.
Connect was a technological marvel, but it totally fell flat with core gamers.
Yep.
Connect didn't work with Halo, but Connect was an amazing tool for so many things like research and how we think about augmented reality and virtual reality experiences.
It's been fun to watch innovation of computer science come not from academia or industry, but to come from gaming.
And it turned out that Connect creative community just went on to do incredible things with this device.
People got into hacking the Kinect early last year. Smartly, Microsoft responded by welcoming that and encouraging more development.
People were taking all the IR data and the voice data, and it was a rich source of creativity for other types of applications.
What is neat is the technology that is used in video games now and how it can be applied to other things, not just gaming.
And they're calling it the Kinect effect.
Microsoft's Kinect could revolutionize medicine.
Being used to aid the rehabilitation of stroke patients, also by people who work with autistic children.
Kinect today is mostly used outside of gaming. So gaming has created this piece of technology that today drives the industry forward.
With Xbox 360, we had an amazing product that had finally broken through. The ecosystem was healthy. Consumers were engaged. In North America and Europe, it was the top-selling hardware device.
Xbox 360 has been the #1 selling console every month for the last 6 months.
It was a pretty great second iteration for Microsoft as a company.
Against all odds, the Xbox 360 basically won that second console generation.
Yep.
By the end of that generation, I think people had sort of felt the pendulum had swung from PlayStation dominance to Xbox dominance.
Yep.
There were more players than ever playing Xbox. The brand really was in a terrific place.
And there was no chance. There's nothing Microsoft could do that could possibly torpedo the success they had with the Xbox 360.
Sure.
Entertainment forever.
Again.
Because we're going to take all that we learned
in more than 30 years of innovation and use it to change
Television.
TV.
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 Television.
Watch TV. Team Xbox is on a new mission. This is it. Xbox One.
I can't believe I cannot believe this press conference.
We've got this vast amount of gamers that are increasingly loving Xbox, and we're building great experiences that they've never seen before. And now we're going to be the connected TV. So we're going to have the set-top box.
Yo, what's good, Daisy?
And it turned out like nobody wanted that.
Oh, hell no, Microsoft. Hell no.
Yeah, they ended up blowing it. Ended up blowing it. Did all the things they said that PlayStation screwed up on. They literally went and followed in their footsteps. Console that was not as cheap. I think they came out later, right? I'm not sure if they came out later or not. That was a decent video, by the way, but I feel like it didn't really focus on the Red Ring as much as I would have liked. I think we'll do one more. Let's do this one. Let's see what he's talking about. One more
Earlier
and
this
then
year, our Xbox 360 finally red ringed. It's something millions of 360 owners have seen. We tried a handful of homegrown remedies, but nothing resuscitated the system we had poured thousands of hours into. It served us well, but was officially dead. But we were one of the lucky ones. According to the back of the system, ours was manufactured in 2008 and only just finally died. We've heard stories of people having 3 or 4 360s red ring on them. How the hell did ours last so long? We had to investigate. The Xbox 360 Red Ring of Death is probably the most well-known hardware malfunction in the history of video games. If you didn't know, around the power switch of the Xbox 360 are 4 LED lights. Green lights are good. 1 to 4 indicates how many controllers are synced to the machine, but red lights signify a malfunction. 1 red light for hardware failure, 2 red lights for overheating, 3 red lights for general hardware failure, and 4 red lights for an AV cable error. Yes, the quote red ring of death is actually only 3 red lights. A true red ring probably just means your AV cables fell out. What caused the red ring of death, and why did it affect so many systems? How were we so lucky, and how did it not completely destroy the Xbox brand? Welcome to Past Mortem, where we break down and explore the stories of video games. And this story is a glimpse into the cutthroat, competitive world of the console hardware business and the importance of customer goodwill and brand strength. This is the story of the Xbox 360 Red Ring of Death.
Blinking in the back. I didn't even notice that until you said.
Our story begins in the spring of 2000. Seeing Sony's just released PlayStation 2 as the latest threat to their lucrative PC gaming market, Microsoft announced on March 10th at the Game Developers Conference they were officially entering the console market with the Xbox. However, difficulties with development and worldwide distribution concerns delayed the Xbox until holiday 2001, putting it almost 2 years behind the PlayStation 2. Despite in many ways having the beefier system, when the dust settled, the PlayStation 2 outsold the Xbox 5-1, costing the tech giant somewhere between 5 to 7 billion in the 4 years it was on the market. It was a crushing defeat for the company. The Xbox's unprofitability wasn't the issue. The system had managed to outsell the Nintendo GameCube, so it wasn't a total flop. But they had failed to make more than a dent in the PlayStation 2's domination in the living room. According to Microsoft's Entertainment and Devices president Robbie Bach, people loved Halo and Xbox Live, but no one loved the console. As a brand, Xbox still had a ways to go. Xbox had a common enemy with the other person at the center of this story, Peter Moore. In August of 1999, Moore became the Sega of America president just before the successful North American launch of Sega's final console system, the Dreamcast. The success of the Dreamcast was short-lived for numerous reasons, not the least of which was the monstrously successful PlayStation 2.
It hurt my Dreamcast.
It was personal. Yes, that definitely.
It was personal.
After leaving Sega in 2003, he was hired as corporate vice president of interactive entertainment midway through the Xbox lifespan, just in time to tattoo the final release date of Halo 2 on his arm. He would pull a similar stunt with Grand Theft Auto 4.
I saved the big guns
for the big guns.
Working under Robbie Bach, Peter Moore would lead the Xbox brand in the early years of the 360, unfortunately making him the public face of the Red Ring of Death, but that's getting ahead of ourselves. At any rate, by 2003, the team at Xbox was reformed and galvanized under one goal: develop a new system that would bury Sony. According to Robbie Bach, the Xbox was a rehearsal or training ground for their next step. So, with lessons learned, Microsoft started the development of the follow-up system in early 2003 with Greg Gibson and Jay Allard as lead engineers. According to his book, Xbox Revisited, on April 2nd, 2003, Bach officially pitched the follow-up to the Xbox, then known as the Xenon, to Bill Gates and Steve Ballmer. To stay competitive, Bach insisted that the machine be sold at a profit, as opposed to leaning on software and peripherals making money. The Xbox was a significant failure in the then highly coveted Japanese market, and its successor needed to be much smaller and more stylish to appeal to the East. The Xbox's original giant controller, nicknamed the Duke, was an industry laughingstock. It would need to be drastically redesigned. They would go a step further and be the first to make a console's standard controller wireless. The system would need to be capable of high-definition graphics to take advantage of the flat-screen television boom just around the bend. It would need space for a hard drive, capable of backwards compatibility to at least play Halo 1 and 2. After early demos of Epic's Gears of War and its impressive Unreal Engine 3, the team made the contentious decision to double memory from an initial 256 megs to 512 megs. Ever wonder why the 360's giant power supply was external? The 360 was so packed with hardware, there wasn't room in the unit. After striking a deal with Electronic Arts to bring their sports games to the 360, Xbox shuttered their in-house XSN sports line in order to better utilize in-house game development talent. But the team realized that the system would need to be more than a great gaming machine to win this. Fortunately, one of the few great successes of the original Xbox was Xbox Live, which would be greatly redesigned and expanded along with the user interface with things like gamer cards, achievements, and the marketplace. It would have the infrastructure for music, TV, and movie streaming, a relatively radical idea for the time. After code names like Trinity, Xenon, Nextbox, and Xbox 2, it will be given the name Xbox 360 and the slogan, Jump In, representing the user transporting to the center of an all-encompassing media hub. As the sixth generation of consoles wound down, Xbox set their sights on a holiday 2005 launch, a date picked only because they thought that was when Sony would release the PlayStation 3. Development was not easy. Worse yet, the stakes were high. Sony began preliminary development of the PS3 as early as 2001, but launching behind Sony was not an option, so Microsoft cut corners everywhere they could to keep costs down and get the 360 onto shelves as soon as possible. To help speed up the process, third-party companies were hired to make chips and hardware. Microsoft saw this as a quicker and cheaper advantage over Sony, who largely handled manufacturing themselves. It did have its benefits. For example, Sony's early production actually wound up helping Microsoft. They were able to get IBM to sell them the specs for their PlayStation 3 core processor, which they then used in the 360. However, this would also prove to be a dangerous bet. A defect in any part from any manufacturer could result in a faulty system, and addressing these issues through third parties would be timely. All told, the launch Xbox 360 unit was made with 1,700 different parts from 200 different manufacturers, all fitted into a case considerably smaller than their previous system. What could go wrong?
What could go wrong?
May 2005, Microsoft unveiled the Xbox 360 on a cringy star-studded MTV fever dream. Days later, they held a lengthy presentation at E3 and announced the system would be shipping holiday 2005. It was a proud moment for the team. However, the real bombshell came from Sony, and no, we don't mean the infamous boomerang controller. PlayStation 3 announced a launch window of spring 2006, not holiday 2005. Suddenly, the Xbox 360 would be the first 7th generation console to market. For the Xbox team, the holidays were theirs to lose. A chance for revenge for the Dreamcast and the original Xbox was becoming a very real possibility. The Xbox 360 was riding the hype of E3, but like most system launches, things were far from running smooth. Near the end of development, Microsoft pulled key engineers like Jay Allard from the Xbox team to work on the Zune, their ill-fated iPod competitor. That's right,
Zune.
you can partially blame the Zune for your faulty Xbox 360.
Damn you,
Microsoft also
Zune.
allegedly did not do their due diligence in creating debug and testing machines. Machines testing systems coming off assembly lines weren't fully optimized to debug units thoroughly enough. On top of that, Microsoft opted to save a reported $2 million on a $25 million deal by foregoing consulting and ordering only 1/3 of the machines needed to properly evaluate the inventory of units. The Xbox 360 was full of new and advanced tech. Contracted manufacturers struggled to meet Microsoft's quality and inventory demands and were falling behind schedule. As the months went on, Microsoft engineers began voicing concern about a myriad of issues: overheating graphics chips, incorrectly installed and cracking heat sinks, warping motherboards, underperforming memory chips, and faulty disk drives. You might have noticed a trend there: heat. The Xbox 360 had a slim, stylish look, but all that tech was crammed very close together, generating a lot of heat. And with very little ventilation to speak of, it was severely impacting functionality. According to VentureBeat, engineers claimed that by as late as August, Xbox 360 yield rates were 68%, suggesting that essentially 2/3 of all units coming off the line were deemed unshippable to stores, which is to say nothing about the units that were deemed fit for store shelves. Some engineers pleaded with their superiors to shut down production and give them time to track down the root of the malfunctioning issues. But top brass, including senior engineers, kept their eye on the prize. Robbie Bach and Peter Moore ultimately made the call. We were confident the product was ready. But they knew they were cutting it close. Regardless of hype that had been steadily growing for months, Microsoft did not publicly announce the November 22nd release date until just 2 months before, on September 15th. By as late as October 7th, they still had not announced shipment numbers, and less than a month out, reports were coming out that Microsoft would not be able to meet holiday demand. Reports claiming that stores were only receiving 1/3 of their orders from Microsoft seemed to confirm the extremely poor manufacturing yield rates. On November 22nd, 2005, despite starting development behind the PlayStation 3 and with a team of just over 200, evidently a small team for such a task, the Xbox 360 was finished and released ahead of the PlayStation 3. It was the hot holiday item.
An Xbox 360, which is the hot toy.
1.5 million systems were shipped worldwide by the end of the year, putting it ahead of the original Xbox's launch. But shortages left people frustrated. Empty-handed consumers would have to settle for exorbitant eBay prices. Conspiracies about artificial shortages began running, and they weren't completely wrong. Microsoft did have a stockpile of 360s in their factories, but the truth is, these were the faulty units. Due to incredibly poor yield rates, Microsoft simply couldn't meet the holiday demand. Now, this type of thing would normally bankrupt most companies, but Microsoft had the deep pockets to take the hit. Victory was bittersweet. Despite having the holiday's hot new video game item and getting out ahead of the PS3, they still could not beat the PS2, which outsold the 360 and moved its 100 millionth unit. And despite all the corner cutting, analysis suggested that Microsoft was not selling launch 360s at a profit. In 2005, Microsoft rushed the 360 to be the first next-gen console on the market. They saw an opening and they took it. And there were complaints about faulty units, some failing right out of the box, but Microsoft said at the time that these were within the expected range. And it was easy to take them at their word then. It's hard to think of any recent major electronics product that didn't have a rough launch. Typically, tech companies refine the manufacturing after launch, and this is what Microsoft planned to do. But this would prove to be a more difficult thing to achieve for the Xbox 360. However, the supporting character to this story is Sony and the spectacular botched launch of the PlayStation 3. And next we'll see that maybe Xbox was so focused on burying the competition, they didn't focus enough on their own base of operations.
Yep.
It's New Year's 2006. Let's take a moment to look at Sony. Sony was coming off back-to-back mega hits with the PlayStation and PlayStation 2, but they were about to be hit hard with the third console curse. Like the Saturn and N64 before it, and of course the Xbox One, but that's a different story, they were about to find out that that third major console is a tough one. After basically recycling their E3 presentation at the January 2006 Consumer Electronics Show, rumors began swirling that the PlayStation 3 was not going to meet its spring release date. Worse still, word was that it was going to be extremely expensive. The system's Blu-ray drive was reported to be the cause, and this was confirmed on March 15th when Sony officially delayed the PlayStation 3 until November 2006, citing ongoing issues with the Blu-ray drive. Meanwhile, Microsoft had since more than doubled its shipment of Xbox 360s. Analysts predicted that Microsoft would be lowering the price soon, but after the PlayStation 3's official unveiling that summer at E3, there was no need. In what is now considered one of the all-time worst E3 presentations, Sony announced the PlayStation 3 would cost $600.
The 60 gigabyte PlayStation 3 for $599 US,
Hell no.
$659 Canadian.
Yeah, just listen to that uproarious applause in the crowd. When Peter Moore and his team heard the news, they were elated. He knew that that price point was a huge mistake for Sony. He even publicly joked that consumers could buy a 360 and a Wii for the price of one PS3. That's right, they were so cocky they gave Nintendo a bump. Moore then set a goal for his team: first to 10 million wins. But while Moore was taking digs at Sony and claiming they were getting their yields where they want them to be, bricked units were starting to pile up. Despite shipping over 3 million 360s in just under 6 months, again according to VentureBeat, inside sources claim that Microsoft's inventory of faulty and returned units had grown to 500,000. There was good news in a newly inked partnership with Toronto-based manufacturer Solistica, but this only fixed the issue of empty shelves. Perhaps the manufacturing pipeline was now running smoothly, but they were still shipping the rushed, faulty launch units prone to malfunctioning. And accounts of malfunctions were beginning to surface. In a heated January 2006 interview with EGM, Dan Su asked Peter Moore about defective 360s, which Moore deflected as isolated incidents, though he did indirectly acknowledge heating issues when asked about the system's loud fan. By spring, the story of one Chris Sarek began making the rounds. In the 6 months since launch, he claimed to have no fewer than 3 360s die on him, displaying what he called the 3 red lights of death. On May 1st, Mercury News ran his story, where Sarek stated that he is just one of many having issues with their 360s. But many instead focused on the fact that Microsoft had sent him free replacement systems, labeling him a crybaby. The article itself speculated that Sarek was just unlucky. Microsoft toed the line that these console failures were within normal rates. Hindsight is 2020, but despite Moore's best public boasting, Microsoft's problem was not just all about fulfilling overwhelming demand for their system, but in all fairness, it hadn't quite blossomed into a full-blown epidemic just yet. Coming off the 2006 E3, Xbox stayed on the attack. Both the PlayStation 3 and Nintendo Wii were launching in November. Looking towards the future, Microsoft prepared a $199 HD DVD add-on to launch alongside and directly compete with the PlayStation 3's built-in Blu-ray player. It's worth mentioning that this was when the format war between Blu-ray and HD DVD pretty much officially kicked off. This, of course, did not turn out so well for Microsoft, but they really had no other choice. To compete with the higher-priced PS3 and lower-priced Wii, Microsoft began working on 2 new models of the 360. The Xbox 360 Elite, codenamed Zephyr, would have a massive 120GB hard drive and HDMI capability, retailing for $479.99. The Xbox 360 Arcade, codenamed Falcon, would have a redesigned and cheaper motherboard with smaller GPU chips, retailing for a cool $279.99. Xbox was proving to be an industry force to be reckoned with, but internally, Microsoft engineers were frustrated to always be working on future projects instead of focusing on the poor manufacturing yields. Peter Moore and top brass stayed on the warpath, pushing Gears of War, one of the year's most anticipated games, and getting to that coveted 10 million. However, by the fall of 2006, the cracks were starting to show. The Xbox 360 had been on the market for almost a year, but the stream of faulty units and returns hadn't slowed down in any significant way. Though plenty of YouTube videos of red-ringed systems still exist from this time, Bach recalled that it was by August 2006 that they realized they had a problem on their hands. And it wasn't an easy problem to solve, as the red ring of death only indicated a, quote, general hardware failure. Internally, they struggled to find a pattern, any kind of trend in the malfunctions in order to narrow down a cause. And while they frantically crunched the data, failure rates were becoming a problem that Microsoft could no longer publicly sweep under the rug. On September 22nd, 10 months after launch if you're keeping track, Microsoft essentially said in a statement to GameSpot, the initial manufacturing run of consoles were being returned for repair at a rate higher than they were satisfied with. They promised to cover or reimburse the cost of repairing any faulty 360s manufactured in 2005. Not bad, but this only covered around 1.5 million of the 5.9 million systems in the wild. Plus, there's an impressive amount of nuanced publicity spin in their statement, like in how they essentially claimed it was just an isolated group of units being returned for a variety of reasons. On the heels of its first birthday, Xbox was still not really publicly admitting to the problems with the 360 they privately were fully aware of. It was a bad story for Xbox, but there was plenty of good news to keep the public distracted. A steady stream of hit games kept consumers happy, and hype for an impressive holiday lineup ensured the 360 would again be a hot holiday item. Hype for Gears of War in particular had been growing steadily since E3, only to reach a fever pitch with the release of the Mad World trailer in October. It is often regarded as one of the greatest video game trailers ever made and helped Gears of War sell over 3 million copies in 10 weeks. It would become the fastest selling video game of 2006 and be remembered as a landmark moment for the 7th generation of consoles. The Xbox 360 would sell 1.1 million systems in December alone. However, Nintendo's Wii and Sony's PlayStation 3 officially entered the market in holiday 06. The Nintendo Wii in particular was an enormous success that no one saw coming, selling twice as many consoles in its first few months than the 360 did, though Nintendo would have its own struggle with shortages out of the gate too. However, the PS3 stumbled hard on its dismount, selling less than 500,000 consoles. Again, irony of ironies, the 360 buried the PS3, but there was still no stopping the PS2. It alone sold 1.4 million in December 2006. This brings us to New Year 2007. Let's pause for a moment and reflect on where the Xbox brand
still
is.
blinking in the back.
In just under 14 months, they were able to take the Halo machine and turn it into a serious contender against two industry titans, Sony and Nintendo. In hindsight, it's easy to forget the perilous position Xbox was in. Nintendo had been doing this since the 80s, Sony the 90s. Original Xbox only launched in 2001. Xbox was just entering its 6th year. 360 was doing great, they were finally at the cool kids table. But they were still the new kid, and everything they had fought for and achieved was on the cusp of being completely undone by three little lights.
Talking to us from
2007 would
beyond.
become the year of reckoning for the Xbox 360 and the Red Ring of Death. In January, Microsoft announced an addendum to their repair reimbursement program. They would now extend the system's original 90-day warranty to a full year after purchase. This announcement came conveniently just after the holidays, 2 days into the new year. But the holidays were successful for Xbox, so in January, they halted production of 360s. Our research suggests this halt could have been for many reasons. One, they had produced 12 million 360s and sold through only 9 million, so they had an inventory cushion. Two, to prep both the Elite's April release and the replacement of the launch core unit with the redesigned arcade unit in November. Or three, to finally give engineers the time and resources to figure out what entrepreneurial people on the internet already knew. These things were seriously busted. Behind the scenes, they worked furiously to find the source of the malfunction, but there was no easy fix. The problem was at the root of the very design of the system. All that tech in such a small space? There was no fix. And this is why such a cottage industry sprung up around the Red Ring of Death. Any number of homemade solutions could have fixed your system because your system could have had any number of problems. The truth is, Xbox had put design first, and it was only after they had created its stylish hourglass look did they then work to cram all its advanced tech inside. And ironically, it was to broaden its appeal in places like Japan, where Xbox had again failed to gain ground. Still, engineers implemented changes that would extend the lifespan of future units, like better heat sinks, epoxy on microprocessors and graphics cards, and a pipe to better direct airflow from the fan. On the outside, the systems looked the same, but on the inside they had been drastically redesigned with less parts, smaller parts, and more room for airflow. Moving forward, failure rates would dramatically improve, but there's still the problem of the 9 million in the wild and the 3 million more en route to store shelves. It was no longer an issue of if they'll fail, but when. Millions of ticking time bombs on store shelves and in living rooms around the world.
Yep.
No brand can handle that. In May 2007, top brass on the Xbox team convened in Robbie Bach's basement. After what Bach described as a long and difficult conversation, they came to the conclusion Microsoft would need to extend the 360's warranty by 3 years and promise to repair or replace every unit, even pay for the shipping. It was the biggest decision I made in my 22 years at Microsoft, no question, Bach later said. Moore recounted going to Steve Ballmer, the CEO of Microsoft, and explaining the seriousness of the situation.
If we don't do this, this brand is dead. This is a Tylenol moment.
Moore was referring to the 1982 Chicago Tylenol murders, where a still unknown person or persons had slipped cyanide into Tylenol bottles. In the span of just 2 days, 7 people died. Immediately, Johnson & Johnson halted production of Tylenol and recalled 31 million bottles nationwide. It was a severe blow to their market share, but the move is widely credited with saving the Tylenol brand and is a public relations legend. It's why you have safety seals on medicine bottles now, by the way. Ballmer understood Moore's plea. How much will it cost, he asked.
And I remember taking a deep breath, looking at Robbie and going, we think it's $1.15 billion, Steve. He said, do it. There was not There was no hesitation.
Moore would later credit the decision for single-handedly saving the Xbox. On July 5th, 2007, Microsoft formally announced it was extending the warranty on any red-ringed Xbox 360 to 3 years after the date of purchase. They also promised to reimburse any money already spent on repairs. It was Microsoft's most public admission to the Xbox 360's high failure rate. The press statement featured a quote from Robbie Bach, but Peter Moore was charged with heading the PR warpath, doing numerous interviews. He would later describe the whole ordeal as sickening, feeling that he had let Xbox fans down. The press release included the $1.15 billion cost of the extension. It is considered one of the most expensive fixes in consumer electronics history. But quite frankly, this was all pretty conveniently timed. Xbox had just launched the Elite in April, would cut console prices 1 month after the warranty extension in August, launch Halo 3 in September, and release the newly designed arcade model for $279 and discontinue the core in October. By the end of the fiscal year, Xbox would see profitability for the first time in the history of the brand, though there's reason to suspect some convenient number shuffling. The Xbox 360 would go on to become the 6th best-selling console of all time, widely recognized as one of the greatest and most influential systems ever made. And it's almost unbelievable that it was able to get to such heights given how devastating the Red Ring of Death was. There are a few reasons why the Red Ring of Death didn't destroy the Xbox brand. 1. Microsoft could take the hit. In fact, the money Xbox makes or costs Microsoft is drops in the bucket compared to the likes of, say, Microsoft Office, so it was never in serious financial trouble. On the other hand, the brand, the optics of Xbox, was only able to survive because the PlayStation 3's early years were so rough. The Wii blew them both out of the water, but it's widely believed it appealed to a much different audience. For the quote core gaming audience, 360 was the obvious choice over the PS3, especially in the early years, and that permeated pop culture.
Our responsibility to help them learn.
Obama.
That means putting away the Xbox.
Yeah, not video games, the Xbox. No better proof that you are at the top when your product becomes the catch-all for the industry. Another thing to remember is that this console generation ran much longer than usual. The 360's replacement, the Xbox One, didn't come out until 2013, 6 years after the 2007 warranty extension. Xbox had plenty of time to move past the Red Ring of Death. Like we said at the beginning of this video, our 360 was manufactured in 2008, but only just this year finally died. But that's just our story. Microsoft did put their ambitions ahead of their customers by launching a faulty, unfinished product. But by most accounts, Microsoft did do right by its customers for the remainder of the 360's lifespan. But ours still eventually red-ringed like all the others. The physical solution to the Red Ring of Death turned out to be a total redesign of the Xbox 360. And the S and E models introduced years later had their respective E74 and E36 air screens, but their failure rates would never come close to the core models. It's fair to say that in time, all original Xbox 360 models will eventually die, and it remains to be seen if these newer models will still be working a decade from now. Perhaps this is one motivating factor behind prioritizing the Xbox One's backwards compatibility, but that's just speculation on our part. And though Sony did one hell of a job turning the PS3 around, and while the 360 never quite had the global reach Microsoft had hoped for, North America was firmly Xbox territory. Throughout this video, we've basically left out the Wii, and that's because to a certain extent, so did Microsoft. They came hard after Sony, and by the end, the North American territory was theirs to lose. For Grace Kramer and Derek Alexander,
lose it did they do.
Thanks so much for watching. Stop Skeletons from Fighting is a Patreon-supported show and is made possible by every one of these people here. If you want to support the show and receive behind-the-scenes bonuses and chat on the private Discord, head on over and pledge what you can. Also, t-shirts are available at fangamer.com. If you want more video game documentaries, check out our two-parter on Mighty No. 9. Also, you can check out what the YouTube Google algorithm has decided for you with the mystery video over here. What's it going to be? And hey, if you're new to the channel, you got this far, hit my face and subscribe. Yeah. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you again real soon.
Hit that face. Subscribe. I would subscribe, but I'm not logged in. Solid video. I will say that both videos, I feel like only lightly touched on the Red Ring. Like more focus on the Red Ring. But hey, we got to see a little history there. Especially Gino, since He wasn't even alive for this moment in history. But yeah. Now the thing is, I guess, bro, I wasn't far off. Actually, you were probably like a baby when all of this was going on. Now the question is, what are we going to play? You was probably like 5? Nah. Nah. Baby. I've actually been learning some Mario speed running, but I don't know if I want to stream that. You guys might not find that interesting. At least not until I actually know how to do the whole run. Think I should? You wanna see me learn each Mario 64 star? Now once I get the whole run down and I can start actually doing runs, I'll stream that, but I don't know if you guys want to see me stream practice and fail over and over and over again at the same thing. I should. Think so. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow then. But you guys keep saying I should. Inspire you. You gonna do some Mario speed running? Will say like I was inspired by watching other people stream it, so maybe it will happen. Yeah, I know 1 star so far. I literally just started last night. I finally got my controller in. I got a special controller. It's kind of like, you know how many stars I know? How many you know? Doing it last night. Practiced for like an hour. I was actually surprised by how I was able to kind of get that because that one was actually like a trick star. Have to use bugs and clip through stuff. You know, the sun is a star though. Yeah, the sun is a star. This is true. This is very true. How are you today, Daisy? I didn't really get to say hello because we were watching the video. Overwatch or Blueprint? I'll let you guys decide. Doing good, fighting the damn warm weather. It's hot where you are. Daisy, if you don't mind me asking, where are you from? I'm only asking this because apparently my viewership is primarily United Kingdom. It has never been that, but it is now. And I know Gino's from the UK. I don't think he alone would Oh, you're far from the UK? Oh, okay. Yeah. It's very interesting. I saw that yesterday and I was like, what? The UK is my most viewed country? Oh, you're from Latin America? Oh, okay. Colombia? That was also kind of high. Can't lie, I'm suffering with this heat. Yeah, I think we're all suffering with the heat right about now. I actually I say that, but it's been kind of off and on here. A little bit hot, a little bit cold. Damn, you guessed right on the first try. Funny. Sorry, Twitch statistics be they be doxing y'all. I only said which one was high up on the list. I figured that's why it was so high, because somebody who watches regularly. Yeah, Twitch be doxing y'all. So did we decide on the game? Is it Blueprints time? Is that what y'all telling me? Yes, your mod, so I assume he watches regularly. True. He does. He does. I think I'm gonna mod you too, Daisy. Cause you be in here a lot too. Spend my free time watching this guy. I was melting like chocolate. Daisy, you don't want to be a mod, you can just remove it. No hard feelings, of course. Oh, nice. It's hot as hell everywhere. Yeah, I think most places are getting hit. People in the mod group. Hot is it for you guys? Hold on, let me check. It actually just started warming back up for me. Been kind of cool the last few days. It's still pretty cool, to be honest. Today there is going to be a high of, let's see. Apparently we're going to have a high of 25C. 77F. 77 degrees. Still not that hot. Pretty cool here still. Compared to what it was recently, it's warming up. You have 25C too? Nice. I might sound like a kitten if I say how hot it is for me. 33 for you? Pretty high. It's pretty crazy. Had to do the conversion. 'Cause I'm a unsophisticated American. 90 degrees is crazy. Blown summer heat. I feel bad for complaining. I guess I'm gonna hook up some blueprints, I guess we do some blueprint. Nobody said Overwatch, so unless you guys really want to see some Mario practice.